Hey pals, welcome back. So I recently moved into a new house, which obviously meant that I had to set up my home office from scratch again. While planning and designing this space, I've been reflecting on some of the upgrades which have made the biggest impact to my previous workspaces. Looking back at the last few years of home office optimization, I've identified 5 key areas that have helped me to create an efficient and productive space where I can get my best work done. As always, I've left links to everything in the description below. Let's get into it. I built my first desk setup at the start of COVID and prioritized cost over quality, mainly because there was no timeline on how long we would be working remotely, and for all I knew, it was just a temporary solution. However, now that I've transitioned to working from home on a permanent basis, I've come to realize how important correct posture is for maintaining both my comfort and focus throughout my workday. We literally spend thousands of hours at our desks every year, so it makes sense to invest in quality ergonomic solutions when designing a workspace. The first thing to consider is a comfortable place to sit. Herman Miller's Aeron is the definitive office chair, balancing a supportive structure with stylish design. I put up with a cheap IKEA alternative for years, but the difference is genuinely night and day, and I encourage anyone who hasn't experienced one of these chairs before to visit a showroom in person to test it out for themselves. I opted for this mineral satin finish, which goes really nicely with some of the other silver elements of my office, and I'm super happy with my decision. It employs a mesh design to eliminate any pressure points that could potentially restrict circulation, and also helps keep you cool if you live in a warmer climate or if you just generally run a bit hot like I do. There is a plethora of adjustability options built into this chair, allowing you to fine-tune your sit and find an optimal seating position that supports the pelvis, back and shoulders. It can recline, but it requires quite a lot of force for this, preventing you from slouching for too long, which is a nice touch, I guess. Getting your seating right is obviously super important, but it's never straightforward, is it? And we also need to get up and move around a bit too. I've been using a standing desk for the last few years to help with this, and after testing various different options, I've ended up with this lovely Scandi style desk from Oakwood. It's powered by a set of Linac motorized legs, which are smoother, faster and quieter than the budget options you'll find on Amazon. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with those, but I can tell you from first-hand experience that they are quite flimsy when raised to a standing position, and after a while you'll probably get annoyed with how much they wobble and stop using them out of sheer frustration. Conversely, the Standing Desk Pro is made using high quality materials and is a solid, sturdy piece of furniture. I spec mine with the following measurements and also added a central grommet for easier cable management. Monitor height is an often overlooked part of creating an ergonomic workspace. In an ideal world, I use a gas-sprung monitor arm for maximum flexibility, but since my studio display doesn't have a base mount, I'm instead using Oakwood's desk shelf system to raise the screen to an optimal viewing height. By elevating the monitor to eye level, the shelf system creates an ergonomically sound setup that ensures I'm not encouraging poor posture or tech neck. The desk shelf is also a home for some of my tools and stationery. This might sound obvious, but keeping your workspace clean and clutter-free will improve efficiency in your workflow, helping you to be more productive. I truly believe that your approach to storage and organization has a direct impact on the quality of your work, and there's a couple of processes you can easily implement to help with this. Investing in smart storage solutions can help maximize the potential of your workspace. This hanging felt organizer attaches to the side of your desk, providing a perfect place for notebooks and documents, while also adding a softer texture to the mix of wood and metal. You've probably noticed that I tried to keep unsightly cables out of view, or out the way at least. Not only does it look better, but it also makes cleaning your workspace a lot easier, as there's much less friction for things like wiping down your desk or vacuuming underneath it. A cable management tray like this one is an easy solution for this, but you'll be amazed what you can do with a roll of Velcro tape if you're on a budget. Utilizing wall space is also such an underrated storage method. Shelves and boxes are perfect for general clutter, but I think pegboards are a better solution for frequently used items that you want easy access to. I also really like using wall hooks for large or awkwardly shaped items. I found these heavy-duty broom holders on Amazon, which allow me to hide some of my filming equipment behind the door. It's not just about physical storage though. The way that you organize your digital files is equally important. If you're the sort of person with hundreds of documents saved on their desktop, I promise you, it's so much better to create a system where everything is saved, searchable, and synced across your devices. There's a wide range of modern productivity apps that allow you to create notes and to-do lists, but in my opinion, there's only really one choice. Notion is a bit like a digital notebook, where instead of writing on paper, you can organize your thoughts, lists, and ideas within an online workspace, where you can also add images, links, and files. Proper planning and preparation prevents poor performance. Notion has been invaluable within my workflow as a YouTube creator, giving me a space to write and edit scripts, keep track of brand projects, and keep our production pipeline on schedule. I really struggle to mentally keep track of dates, so having access to such a visual way of seeing progress has honestly been a huge help. I feel like the AI label is getting slapped on everything at the moment, but even I have to admit that it's becoming an invaluable productivity tool that can be a big time saver. I've been using Notion's AI assistant a lot recently to help with my script writing, but they just released a bunch of wicked new features that I can't wait to get stuck into. AI Home means the latest models from OpenAI and Anthropic now live within Notion, meaning there's one less tab open on your browser. And AI Meeting Notes is a new way to capture and summarize minutes, but I'm definitely going to use this in the car to transcribe my video ideas into an outline that I can develop further later. I'm really excited for this one. There's a bunch of powerful templates built into Notion to get you started, but if you're also a video creative or business owner looking to leverage social media, I can highly recommend CreateOS from Mattia Delicio. There's a basic version that gives you access to a free content planning kit, but the Pro version provides you with a comprehensive dashboard that includes everything you need to manage and scale your creative workflow. I've been slowly adding these pages into my Notion, and I'm honestly so impressed by how much value is included. Alright, we gotta talk about something. If you had to guess what percentage of my viewers are actually subscribed to the channel, what would you say? 10? 25? 50%? No. Less than 2%. Yeah, I know. If you've made it this far into the video, then you're probably enjoying it, so do me a favor and press subscribe. It'll only take you a couple of seconds, but it genuinely helps me to keep making this type of content. Thanks, pal. Anyway, moving on. Lighting plays a fundamental role in how a space looks and feels, and even influences your mood and well-being. With this in mind, the next upgrade I want to talk about is implementing effective lighting, which can transform your workspace into an environment that's both aesthetically pleasing and conducive to productive work. So let's start by turning off the big light. Overhead lights create flat, sterile lighting that pulls all the character out of a room. We obviously don't want to work in the dark, so the aim is to instead create atmosphere and depth by using layered lighting. What I mean by this is combining what's known as task and ambient lighting. Ambient lighting provides a foundational layer of illumination. Typically, this is on the warmer side, similar to candlelight or traditional tungsten bulbs, but too much of this can make your office oversaturated with yellow or orange tones, so we need to balance this out. Task lighting refers to illumination that helps you perform specific jobs. It's usually much closer to the cooler tones of daylight, which reduces eye strain and helps to keep you more alert. This spectrum of colour is measured in something called Kelvin, and gives us a value that we can easily reference to. For example, daylight is 5600 Kelvin, which is typically what looks the most natural when it comes to task lighting. Video production lights are my go-to for illuminating a space. They typically offer a lot of control for things like brightness and color temperature, and they also run at a higher frequency, so you don't get any flickering on camera like you often see in traditional office spaces. The other thing to keep in mind is direct versus diffuse light. When a light source is too strong, it can be distracting, causing us to lose focus and affect how well we can work. We could lower the brightness, but sometimes that isn't helpful either, so diffusion helps us to reduce the luminance contrast created by a light source. This would usually be achieved by bouncing off a white surface or shining the light through a diffusion material like an umbrella or softbox. While these are perfect within a production environment, they're quite big and cumbersome, which can be tricky in a room with limited floor space, like a home office. Instead, I would recommend something like this panel light from Amaran, which has a much smaller footprint. It's called the Verge Max and comes with everything you need to provide soft and diffused light at your desk setup without needing a bulky modifier. This model is 55 centimeters or about 22 inches in diameter, but there's also a smaller version if you don't need as much output. These dials allow you to control the brightness and color temperature, but I'm really weird about them being left upside down, so I prefer to use the Sidus Link app, which means I can just leave these alone and operate it remotely. I like that it comes with the desk lamp, which means it's always in the same position, even when I'm standing, but I'm pretty sure you can buy an adapter if you prefer not to mount it for whatever reason. I've got a couple of tube lights scattered around the office for ambience, as well as this 3D printed lamp from High-End, which leads us nicely onto our next upgrade. Now, I'll be honest, I was always a bit skeptical of how useful a 3D printer would actually be, but I've since developed an appreciation for having the means to create solutions for those occasional, usually quite trivial problems that we all find. I appreciate that not everyone has the budget for a new and potentially quite expensive hobby, so this is the A1, which is an entry-level option from Bambu Lab. There's a lot of competition in the 3D printing space, but what I like about Bambu Lab is how easy and accessible they make it, especially for beginners. It only takes about 20 minutes to get everything set up, and from there you're ready to create high quality prints with minimal hassle. I tested the X1C a few months ago, which is a much higher spec and comes with all the bells and whistles. So if we use that print as a reference, it starts to become clear which features Bambu Lab have compromised on with the A1 to reduce costs. Instead of opting for a 3-axis rail system, which would allow the print head to move in any direction, the A1 is what's known as a bed slinger, which is quite common on budget printers. While it still delivers reliable performance, and I've yet to have a print fail, I have a feeling it may lead to instability on certain models that are quite tall and narrow, for example. The moving print bed also means the A1 has an open design, rather than using an enclosed chamber like the X1C. Again, this shouldn't really affect the print quality, but some filaments are more sensitive to temperature and humidity, so it's just something to keep in mind. Despite these differences, the A1 still delivers a premium experience and offers a huge amount of value at a lower price point. Just like the X1C, it has a camera for capturing time lapses and monitoring print progress remotely, which is super handy for those longer prints when you can't afford to hover over it all day. For multicolour prints like this Switch cartridge holder, you'll want to get the A1 Combo, which includes the AMS Lite. There's a handful of models saved within the operating system to get you started, but there's literally thousands of free user-generated print files available on the Bamboo Handy app. They range from practical solutions like this stand for my Analogue Pocket, as well as some of the more obscure creations that some designers have blessed us with. Here are a few of my favourite things I've printed so far. These brackets for my Thunderbolt 4 dock allow me to attach it underneath the monitor shelf so that it's easily accessible without taking up any desk space. And I also printed this plant pot drip tray combo using a marble filament, which gives it a clean and minimal look. It's quite common to print upgrades for your 3D printing setup. For example, these filament covers help to maintain lower moisture levels inside the AMS Lite, and this container collects waste filament as it gets purged through the colour switching process. I haven't jumped into the rabbit hole of Gridfinity yet, but these parametric trays were super easy to adjust to the dimensions of my drawer and helped me keep my memory cards and tools a bit more organised. By the way, I wanted to mention that the lamp from High-End I mentioned earlier isn't publicly available. I've been giving them some feedback on some of their upcoming designs like this one, but they've already got some really cool products for sale on their website, so definitely check them out. There's already a lot of print files out there for lamps, but what I really like about this one is that it's fully modular, so if you want to change the vibe of your space in future, you can simply print a new shade or base to create something new. And that's kind of the magic of 3D printing. Relatively speaking, it's a really cheap and fast way of turning an idea into a physical product. I'm not a designer, so I'm really only scratching the surface of what's possible with a 3D printer. But brands like Bamboo Lab have made this technology so much more accessible, which is really cool. So, if I could only give one piece of advice to someone creating a workspace from scratch, it would be to make it their own. It's perfectly normal to look towards other people for inspiration, but I think it's so important to find ways of making your workspace specific to you. One of the reasons I love mechanical keyboards so much is because I feel like I'm pouring a little part of myself into each build. The level of customization it offers means that each board is singular and unique, and it's a small step towards making the space personal to me. Adding photos, posters, anything that represents your individual interests and personality will make your office an exciting and enjoyable place to get work done. Specific smells can also act as a subconscious trigger for focus and productivity. Giving your workspace a signature scent can signal to your brain that it's time to concentrate. Mindset is one of the biggest factors when it comes to overall performance. So creating a space that helps you feel more optimistic, engaged, and creative is probably the most valuable upgrade I can offer. So there we have it. Hopefully you found this video helpful and got some value out of it. If there's any home office upgrades you can think of that you'd like to add, then definitely leave a comment and I'll pin some of the best ones. Otherwise, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.